For a while now, I've been thinking about how we've been conditioned to think as a church. That everything that we encounter is in the context of the church and a church service and going to church on the Sunday morning. But this is not what God meant for us.
Hi, I'm Nathan Jones, and I want to talk to you today about what true worship is all about.
I think for many of us, John 4 is a very important story in the Bible where Jesus speaks to the Samaritan woman. You see, when he speaks to the Samaritan woman, he addresses something that even affects our lives today. What does he say? Well, he says the following: where you worship will not be important, but that you worship is important. The issue that we need to address is, what is worship? You see, in John 4, the Bible says that Jesus came to the Samaritan woman. He found her at the well. When he addressed her, he spoke to her and he spoke into her life. And besides that, he mentioned something to her about worship. You see, she highlights the point that you Jews, you say that we need to worship in the temple in Jerusalem. But our father Jacob, he told us to worship in our mountain. Jesus responds and he says the following. He says, what you need to understand, a time will come where you worship will not be important, but that you worship. And then he says the following, that you worship him in spirit and in truth. The question is, what is worship? When we think of worship as children of God, we sometimes think of worshiping God in a church, in four walls, lifting our hands and singing songs. But that's not worship. You see, me lifting my hands and singing songs is thanksgiving. Why? Because the Father is good. But what Jesus touches here is worship. Worship as a lifestyle. And I know that you're seeing that the brothers standing on stage and telling you that worship is a lifestyle. But you see, it's so much more than just a lifestyle. It's everything about you. Paul puts this into context in 1 Corinthians chapter 3, verse 16, where he says, don't you understand that you are the temple? That you are the temple of the living God. He speaks on the same subject in Romans chapter 12, verse 1, where he says, do not be conformed to this world, but be transformed by the renewal of your mind, presenting your body as a living sacrifice. For this is your reasonable temple worship unto the Lord. You see, worship is you. Why? Because you are the temple of the living God. We need to get out of the way of thinking that worship is for the four walls of a church. No. You see, worship is everything about you. Worship is not singing songs. Worship is not lifting your hands. That is thanksgiving. Worship is, are you a true example of what a child of God should be like? Worship is the way that I treat my family, the way that I treat my wife, the way that I speak to my kids, the way I treat the man that comes to knock at my door for a piece of bread. Worship is how I pay my bills. Worship is whether or not I'm on time at work. Everything about me is worship, because everything about me preaches Christ to this world. Let us know in the time that we are going in that we don't need to be in church to worship. Everything about us is worship. And when it comes to the Samaritan woman in John chapter 4, he's telling her the following: where we worship is not important, but that we worship is important. God bless.